Hey y'all, and welcome to Belichick's Bitches podcast, the number one podcast in the entire world on some sort of metric, using the only source, the best source. Do trust me. I am one of your hosts, Brennan. I am a Denver Broncos and UGA Bulldogs fan. I live in California. I am currently 20 years old and a college student studying sports management and hope to someday work in the NFL or NCAA as a scout or an executive. Just so everyone knows right now, getting this out of the way, this podcast is for football only. We'll keep politics out of this podcast as much as we possibly can. If some controversial player makes news or makes a roster, we'll be talking about them purely from a football perspective and nothing else. And I will be moving on to my co host, Tyler.
Hey, what's up? My name's Tyler. I am 20 years old, same as Mr. Brennan over here.
You
I'm a
think
Patriots fan. Anyway, Patriots fan. Currently living in Mississippi. I am going to community college right now, trying to get into the University of Southern Mississippi. I want to work in the NFL as a coach, man. Coach, scout. I just want to be involved with the sport. It's given so much to me. I want to get back to it. And hey, this is a pretty good first step. So, like Brennan said, politics just it's not the focus here. Politics and sports, we think they should just be separate. So we're gonna try to keep this nice, clean. We're gonna try to have as much fun here as we can. So, first topic we're gonna choose is gonna be the draft. And so, Brennan, I'll start asking the first question of the podcast. I get that title.
all right.
What was your least favorite pick in the draft? Just overall least favorite
Overall,
pick.
least favorite pick?
Yeah, your number one. Which one did you just hate?
There's a lot of them, but I think my number one least favorite pick in terms of, uh, God, this is a hard choice between two of them. I'm gonna go with Chargers picking at number 6 overall, quarterback out of Oregon, Justin Herbert, as my least favorite
Ooh,
pick.
getting into the quarterbacks early.
I,
Okay.
I, I will reveal why later when we discuss the quarterbacks.
Okay. Well, I guess we're just going to be ganging up on the Chargers here because my least favorite pick in the draft was also from the Chargers. They traded up to number 23 with my team, and they selected Kenneth Murray. I wasn't a huge fan of that pick, and I don't think you are either, as we've talked before about
No,
it.
I am not a huge fan of that pick either.
The speed is great, fast guy, but that's about it. He's got good IQ, but his coverage is just it's abysmal. And
It's very lacking.
With Patrick Queen still on the board, and that's a trade up as well. Yeah, that's just that pick wasn't there, and I think many people agree with that
Yeah, I don't think I'd be as upset with the pick if it wasn't for the trade up and having Patrick Queen still on the board, who actually still didn't go for another linebacker pick later, which is
one.
also
Yeah, and
another one of my least favorite picks.
yeah, the Seahawks I think drafted Jordan Brooks.
Jordan Brooks. Yep,
Yeah,
I
Jordan
had him
Brooks
at
ahead of
as
him.
like
Yep,
a late second,
yeah,
early third round prospect.
out of Texas Tech.
Well,
Yeah,
this
and
the Seahawks are always known for drafting those kind of players in the first round.
and what's sad is normally they're actually not correct, but then they make it up by having some of the best second, seventh round picks
Yeah.
in the league. Um, what's another pick that just kind of bugged you besides the Herbert and Kenneth Murray pick?
Going back to the AFC West here, Raiders corner Damon Arnett out of Ohio State. Oh, vast overreach. Oh my lord, this dude was the third round pick I had. Um, Raiders drafted him 16th overall. I get good character. That's what the Raiders were really looking for with Gruden and Mayock here. But I don't see the first round talent at all. I would have been
Yeah,
much more okay with, say, a Jeff Gladney, a Christian Fulton, a Noah Igbenogany. Any of those
yeah.
players I would have been more okay with. But
And the
Damon
thing about
Arnett,
Arnett, the thing about Arnett that confused me is there's when you look at his height, weight measurables, there's nothing that jumps out on the page. He's 5'11", average. You know, got average arm length, average hand size. Even has average speed, 4.56 40-yard dash. Nothing jumps off the page. Besides, like you said, his character, and he plays the position well. But with how deep this corner draft was, yeah, I agree. That pick just made.
And even so, he wasn't even guarding the best receivers going up against Ohio State. That was all up to Jeff Okudah.
Yeah.
He was covering second, third fiddle guys, not the primaries.
Yeah. And I think we're gonna stick at the cornerback position here, because there's a pick here, and it was in the top 10, believe it or not, that just made no sense for me. And it was at number 9. It was Jacksonville. With all the help they need from Minshew, they have really no true receiver beside DJ Shark. Don't really have a tight end anymore. The offensive line's struggling. They go out there and they draft C.J. Henderson. Hey, the kid can cover. I mean, that's obvious. The kid can cover. He just can't tackle.
I don't think he can't. He refuses to tackle.
He plays a lot like Deion Sanders in a bad way. I know that probably sounds weird, but he refuses to give that extra effort. I'm not saying Deion Sanders didn't give effort, but he just doesn't seem like he goes out there and wants to make the play. And you're going to be responsible for handling the number ones. You're not going to go out there and cover the slot. You're going to be covering the Julio Jones and
Gonna be covering the T.Y. Hiltons, the Brandon Cooks in his own division.
And when you have that,
and the A.J. Browns,
along with the fact that, hey, Minshew's still defenseless out here. Young 5th or 6th round pick.
6th.
That's just that's just a bad pick that just doesn't.
I would wholeheartedly agree. He's great in coverage. He's a very sticky corner. He just lacks. He refuses to tackle, and I don't get how you could be a first-round pick playing defense in the NFL who refuses to tackle. It's one of the literally one of the most important parts of your job is tackling, and if you refuse to do it, I don't know how you could be a first-round pick.
Yeah, especially with how many corners are starting to become more important in the run game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, receivers are getting better at run blocking. It's just not a good look. Let's get all the negative energy out of the way here. You have any more picks that you just scratching your head at? That you just didn't understand?
I'm actually I have some more in the first round, but I want to go past that a little bit. I would say I'm gonna just throw out a few quick hitters here. For the rest of the first round that I didn't like. I didn't like Dolphins picking Austin Jackson at, I think it was 21. I didn't like Seahawks taking Jordan Brooks over Patrick Queen. And I didn't like the Titans, even though I'm a UGA fan, I didn't like the Titans taking Isaiah Wilson in the first round. But the pick that really confused me, like, I don't understand the mentality behind this. It shows a lack of confidence in a player that's already there who I don't think is all that bad. And that would be the Lions' second-round pick, running back from Georgia, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I have that highlighted as well. That pick didn't make sense. Kerryon Johnson has proven he's a starting caliber running back at his worst.
Absolutely.
And at his best, he's in the top 15 running back. He can play the game. And it didn't make sense because Swift is a guy who's going to take 15 of those carries automatically at a minimum.
Oh, yeah.
And along with some pass catching situations that Kerryon Johnson has been improving on. So you take that, and how do you switch? How do you make that work? Those two, unless you run the ball 40 times a game, which not many teams do that anymore, unless you're the Ravens. And you have
Ravens or Titans, yeah.
You have one of the fastest players in the NFL at quarterback. That's just not fair. I mean, it doesn't make sense to draft.
Yeah,
DeAndre
unless you're planning on
that high.
running the ball as the main part of your offense when you have Matthew Stafford and Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones.
Yeah, and Danny Amendola.
And Danny Amendola. And T.J. Hawkins, former first-round pick T.J. Hawkinson. Or they could be playing to use a lot of split backfield maybe, but I don't really see that being a main stake in their offense.
That doesn't fit Carrion's style either.
No.
He's a line up behind the quarterback, run one cut type of guy, and run into your mouth.
Yes.
That's Carrion Johnson. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they incorporate those two.
All right.
A pick that we're gonna go into later, but I have to get this one off. Is Kyle Duggar. I'm a Patriots fan. Hey, you were with me on draft night.
I was.
Wasn't the best of situations. Listen, do I like Kyle Duggar in a bubble without looking at where he was picked, where he came from? Yes, great player. He's a little old for a rookie. He's 24. The issue lies into where we drafted him, way up at pick 37. I mean, he's getting picked around with Gross Moss, Xavier McKinney, DeAndre Swift, Laviska Shenault. You look at all those players that could probably make an immediate impact. And you go out there and you draft a hybrid player.
Yeah.
Being nice here. He doesn't really have a position yet. He played cornerback in college. That's where he was most effective. But he's
nickel
really
corner, box safety, sub linebacker, that kind of player.
Yeah, and hey, that's great. But as a second round pick, when you have especially a lot of needs for a young quarterback, I didn't understand the Kyle Duggar pick as a Patriots fan. Of course, I want everything to be a superstar.
Or even possibly
No.
taking Duggar over a different young quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Or even taking him over another young type safety that, while he had a questionable last year, Grant Delpit. Grant Delpit didn't go off the board till pick 44.
Yeah.
And Trayvon, just to name some other ones, Trayvon Diggs, all these guys that probably could have helped New England right off the bat. And you go out there and you pick Kyle Duggar. I mean, hey, the part that bugs most people, the Division II thing, doesn't even bother me. It's just
doesn't bother me at all.
The need,
the talent's
the
there.
the need, and the draft position just doesn't make sense.
I can see that. I still like Kyle Duggar a lot as a prospect. I definitely agree with the age thing though, and the need
24.
that was being addressed. It didn't really make too much sense at the time.
He does have an injury history.
That's true.
He was injured twice in college. He was redshirted twice. So, and that's a D2, and that's a little worrying. But you know what? All right, let's switch it up. In your opinion, what was the best first round pick?
The best first round pick, Ravens linebacker Patrick Queen. I don't know how the Ravens always do it. They always get the steal. It seems like every year they get a steal of the first round. They have had Lamar Jackson. They've had Patrick Queen now. Who'd they draft last year? I'm pretty sure they had a good pick last year. It's escaping my mind. They had Marlon Humphrey a few years back. The Ravens just get great value in the first round without ever having to trade up, just because they just let the players fall to them. And this is no different with Patrick Queen. It's at a great position of need, actually, for the Ravens. Their defense is missing a really strong linebacker to make that defense like truly elite, because they have such a great defense with their free agent acquisitions of like Calais Campbell, of Derek Wolfe. They traded for Marcus Peters last year. The defense is solid, and they just need a linebacker, and they got that with Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen was the best linebacker in this draft class. Definitely one of the best coverage backers, and they got him in the 20s. After
late 20s,
late 20s, after two other linebackers had already been drafted. One was not even a first-round pick, nor even a second-round pick.
Yeah, and to bounce off that a little bit, to give a little more context, Patrick Queen has, in my opinion, is Devin White-esque. He's missing that physicality.
Agreed.
If Patrick Queen can develop that physicality, he's just like Devin White. He's got the same speed.
That was literally my pro comp for him coming out was Devin White.
and
Funnily
you
enough.
see Devin White went around 8 or 9 last year.
He went 9 to the Bears, yes.
And you see Patrick Queen going 28. I mean, hey, that's also a testament how good the Ravens scouted. They must have known something with the other teams to be that comfortable sitting on the best linebacker. Hey, they must have known something. That's yeah, a great pick. I think one of my favorite picks. I think this is probably one you would also agree. Javon Kinlaw at 14 to the San Francisco 49ers. I love the pick.
I didn't have him written down,
I
but I love that pick. Yes.
I love that pick because they lost to Forrest Buckner in that trade.
Perfect
And
replacement.
what do they do? They pick up someone who has the potential to be DeForest Buckner.
The best
And
interior pass rusher in this class.
And you look at him, he fits their scheme to a T. He's literally DeForest Buckner-esque, just raw. He gets to play alongside one of the best pass rushing duos. D Ford on one side, Nick Bosa on the other.
And not to mention, he
Think
gets
about
to
that.
play directly next to Eric Armstead as well.
Exactly. So you think about it, those three guys are going to demand double team. Nick Bosa needs a double team. You can't just let Nick Bosa go one on. You combine that, Kinlaw's going to end up with 6-7 sacks just because
Oh, definitely.
not everyone can be blocked. He's going to be an immediate impact player. Honestly, one of my sleeper picks for defensive rookie of the year. I think it'll be him and Cleveland
Oh, yeah.
as the two guys.
Javon Kinlaw is one of my favorite players in this draft class.
I think I had him going.
I had him
I
over
had him going
Derek
8.
Brown for interior defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Derek Brown to me was
him
a
going 8.
nose tackle with some pass rush skills. Javon Kinlaw to me was a pass rusher with some run stopping skills, and it's much easier to develop those run stopping skills than it is those pass rush skills.
Oh yeah, pass rush skills is something that some guys never develop.
Yeah.
I mean they'll be in the league for 6-7 years and they don't know how to develop a good pass rush. And if you already have that weapon coming in, hey.
Especially going against some of the best offensive linemen in the entire country in the SEC. I mean, he dominated Georgia in our unfortunate, terrible loss to South Carolina.
Trust me, I remember that. Yeah, and I think Kinlaw is my pick as of right now for defensive rookie of the year. I just think there's so many pieces that's going to go into that Niners defense. It's going to be scary. What's another pick that you were feeling?
Well, you addressed earlier with Kalavan Chason that you didn't like you liked the player but not the pick. You would rather have them go with someone else from Minshew, and the same thing with C.J. Henderson, which is why I have one of my favorite picks. Them picking Laviska Shenault in the second round out of Colorado. He's one of my favorite receivers in this class. If he can stay healthy, this dude is an offensive mismatch. He can play out of the backfield as a running back. He can make people miss as a receiver. He has some fantastic catches at Colorado with terrible, terrible quarterback play.
Yeah.
If he can just stay healthy, Laviska Shenault could be a beast. I love Laviska Shenault.
And Shenault also has, that he's a strong man. Looking at some of his highlights, he's hard to tackle.
Oh yeah.
And just to know that at least Minshew has another weapon. I don't know who he's going to throw to in the dump down situation though, because they don't really have a tight end. They have Tyler Eifert, I think, who can only play like 30% of the snaps.
Yeah. All they have there is DJ Chark, basically.
Yeah, but I think going back to the Chasen pick, I love the player. I think he's one of my favorite pass rushers in this class. I love him. I just don't think Jacksonville needs him. And now, again, we have the Yannick Ngakoue deal, which we'll probably talk about in a future episode. But not right now. But Chasen, if he gets the chance, I think he'll be great. It's just I think the value there could have been better, especially since Justin Jefferson was still on the board.
Yeah.
I feel like Justin Jefferson would have been the better pick there, but yeah, I agree with the Chasen pick. I love the player.
I think the Shenault pick kind of makes up for the Chason pick in the end, especially with the Yannick Ngakoue situation. It all kind of works out well.
And one of the picks, and I think a lot of people were confused on this pick on draft night, Cesar Ruiz at 24. When they drafted him, everyone was really confused because you have T.J. McCoy at center, you got Larry Warford at right guard, and Argyris Pete at left guard. So you're wondering, well, where's the guy going to play? Well, they cut Larry Warford. He's gone now. he's going to immediately slide into right guard, and I don't think they'll miss a beat. That offensive line, one of the best in the league.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I don't think, and as you saw, McCoy last year came out, they didn't miss a beat with McCoy. Came in, he was one of the highest graded offensive linemen last year in terms of rookies. So I think they'll be able to work the same magic. You put Ruiz at guard. He's got some concern with his footwork that I read, but I think it's something that, again, you can teach footwork. That's always something you can. And I think, give him just that one off season here. And I think New Orleans doesn't miss a beat on that offensive line.
I totally agree. That Saints are just drafting for right now. They want to win another Super Bowl with Breeze before he hangs up the cleats, which is most likely going to be this year, it seems. So they're going all in, absolutely all in, and they got my number one interior offensive lineman in the class at 24. So that was a good pick.
Yes. Now let's move on to some of those gems, some of those guys that weren't talked about on days 1, or maybe even day 2. What's your best day 3 pick?
My best day 3. All right. So my favorite day 3 pick. I'm gonna go with the 6th round pick for the Denver Broncos, Natane Muti, the guard out of Fresno State. This dude is an absolute beast at guard. He is nasty. He plays very physically. He just doesn't get beat very often. His main concern is, again, injuries, like so many other people in this draft class. He has such great potential, and he'll be working with one of, if not the best offensive line coach in the NFL, on Mike Munchak. If he can stay healthy, and he gets his rookie year, he'll be like a redshirt rookie year to just learn the system, learn under Mike Munchak, learn under Graham Glasgow and Dalton Reisner from the starting guards. I think he could be really, really good once, say, I don't know, maybe a year from now. If we let go of Garrett Bowles, Dalton Reisner could move back to tackle where he played a lot at college at Kansas. And then Natane Muti could just slide in to left guard and fill that position if he's ready.
Yeah. And to play off the offensive line vibe we kind of have going on, my favorite day 3 pick had to easily be Tyler Biadasz. I have been watching Biadasz ever since he started at Wisconsin. I don't know if you know this story, at high school, he was an edge rusher. He mostly played defense in high school. And when he got to Wisconsin, he was immediately redshirted for his first year, and they converted him to a center. So he has that athleticism that you normally don't see out of a center. And I know that's a weird, thing to focus on, but he's just hard to get past in that run game because he plays like a defensive player. He wants to smack that other guy in the mouth. And when you see him on those run plays, which, hey, if you watch a lot of Jonathan Taylor highlights,
oh yeah,
you see a lot of Tyler Biadasz. He just creates mammoth holes in the defensive line. And he's going to do
very
that.
Powerful big boy.
Him and Zeke is going to be scary with these halfback dives next year. It's going to be gross. And I think you put him around Zach Martin, around I'm blanking on the left guard's name, and I feel very bad about that.
I can see his face. I can see his face. What's his name?
We did not do enough research for this. And then and put him in Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins. That is
Lyle Collins. That's it. Lyle Collins.
He's gonna make the loss of Travis Frederick feel a lot more smooth. And I think he has a chance to be an immediate impact player for Dallas. I love that pick, and that was with the last pick, technically, of the 4th round, the last comp pick of the 4th round. Great value.
Yeah, that was really good value. I feel like most of the interior offensive line really slid and made some of their picks really good value picks, just because of how much there wasn't a focus on interior offensive line early on.
Which has kind of gone against what you've seen in the previous few years. I mean, last year Atlanta drafted a guard in the 20s.
Yeah, Christian Strum.
And you see that you've seen a lot of offensive guards go early. So to see this kind of fall was really weird. Um, what's another day 3 pick that you think a really solid one?
Um, I don't want to keep going with offensive line, but this was just especially interior offensive line. So I'm just gonna say him and then move on to my other one. Nick Harris, the center from Washington, to the Browns in the 5th round. I thought that was a great pick. Great developmental piece for their offensive line. Since their interior of their offensive line is kind of a bit older on the older side, gives them a great young piece that they could just develop and then slide in if any injury happens. I think he was like my 4 or 5 interior offensive linemen, and the Browns get him in the 5th round. But my other player, since I wanted to get away from interior offensive line, I'm gonna go with Bengals linebacker Akeem Davis Gaither from Appalachian State. If you knew me through this draft class, I loved Akeem Davis Gaither so much as a coverage backer. I wanted him for the Broncos really badly because that's what we lacked, a coverage backer. And Akeem Davis Gaither brings that ability to your defense. He is a very solid coverage backer. The only downside is really the injuries. Keep
Yeah,
coming back to that. It's the injuries with some of these guys. They're so damn good if you watch them, but their injuries can just be concerning, and that's why someone I thought was rising up draft boards, someone I heard was rising up draft boards to even being a 2nd round pick, ended up going in the 4th.
yeah. And to bounce off that, it's interesting because those cover linebackers
There
are
was a
really
plethora
hard
of them in this
to
draft.
gauge, but they're really hard to gauge in the draft
Yeah.
because with the way schemes are going, and I know we don't play much base defense. Base defense has gone from being something that teams used to play 60, 70% of the time. They play it 30,
Yeah.
almost sometimes
It's
28%.
the new base has almost become nickel.
Exactly, because why would you waste putting 3 or 4 linebackers out there when you could just maybe throw 1 or 2 cover guys, like you said, and put an extra safety out there, which
Yep.
you see a lot of teams do, or put an extra corner out there, and it allows a roster flexibility because you don't have to carry 9 linebackers on your team like you used to, and it allows you have just better coverage, and that's just the way the NFL game has evolved. So that's why you see a lot of these great coverage guys that are a little bit bigger going in these later rounds. And yeah, I thought that pick was great. We were watching that draft. That was a very good pick. Um, one one of these picks that I love, and I'm going to show a little bit of Patriot bias as we'll go later on.
Haven't you already done
I
Patriots?
I'm going to go one more. I'll go one more.
All right.
Um,
I'll allow it.
Devin Asiasi. Listen, if
Sounds
you
like you're
don't
saying
look at the
Aussie,
other,
Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, oi, oi, oi.
as long as you don't look at the picks we had around him, those don't exist at the moment. We're just going to go with
In a vacuum. In a vacuum.
Devin Asiasi. Great pick in the 3rd. Athleticism for a tight end is amazing. He's quick. I know the 40-yard dash doesn't show it, and he ran a 4.7. And at first, you're thinking, well, that's kind of slow. And then you look at his game speed. His game speed is very fast. Blocking is pretty much non-existent. They're going to have to pretty much teach him how to block.
Oh yeah.
But when that's something that you can teach a guy. But for New England, who doesn't really have a tight end right now outside of Matt LaCosse and Ryan Izzo, I love the pick.
I
The
think
issue that everyone talks about with Asiasi is that we drafted Dalton Keene like 8 picks later.
yeah. Yeah.
And that was one of our worst picks of our draft. I'm sorry, Dalton. If you're listening, you're probably not. That pick just didn't make sense. We have Ryan Izzo, who's had 2 years on our scheme, and Dalton Keene is just Ryan Izzo. So I love Asiasi as a just a project. I didn't like him when we first drafted him. I had to look at some tape. But when I looked at the tape, he is going to probably be our number 1 tight end by week 9.
Yeah.
I think once he
I
gets on
didn't
that
know
field,
much of Devin Asiasi before the draft,
mm-hmm.
but I started looking into him more after the Pats had drafted him. I gotta say he I don't know. I think his pro comp would probably be a like low tier Eric Ebron.
That's how I saw him. He's very athletic. And again, you wouldn't think by looking at his combine numbers. And he's not particularly strong either.
Yeah,
But his route running is the way
it's
he gets
crisp.
open.
Yeah,
He runs routes almost like a receiver, and it's great to watch. He is going to be Stidham's favorite best friend because Stidham is going to have to get the ball quick. Aussie is going to be running those nice little 7-yard crisp slant routes like Michael Thomas to a point, and I think you'll see him get a lot of targets. Let's move. What you thinking about the undrafted?
wait, I want to do one more, but
Oh,
this one
one
from
more.
day 2.
Ooh, day two. What you got? I'm interested.
Okay, so I have 2 more from day 2. I'm gonna go by the first one real quick though. So the first one I'll go by real quick. Um, Ravens yet again. I love the Ravens draft class. Wide receiver from Texas, Devin Duvernay. Perfect slot player. Whenever he gets the ball in his hands, he plays like a running back. He is fast. He can play special teams, and the dude's just you just look at his tape from Texas, and the dude's a
Yeah.
beast. He's gonna be great in that Ravens offense with Lamar Jackson and Marquise Hollywood Brown and J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram and Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst and
And
all these players that the Ravens have on offense.
sadly not Hayden Hurst, but
Oh,
we actually will be talking about Hayden Hurst later. And Miles Boykin. I think that wide receiver room is now coming to a completion. Now you got Marquise Brown and you got Miles Boykin, who actually showed some flashes later in the season. You got those two on the outside. You got Duvernay in the slot. You got Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle, one of the better number 2 tight ends in the league.
yeah.
Killed New England. I don't even want to. Killed New England in that game. And you combine all that, great running back room. That Ravens team got a lot better, and they really didn't lose anything in that draft or in free agency. So yeah, I love that Duvernay pick.
Okay. The other day 2 pick I wanted to talk about real quick. I had not been too kind to the Seahawks earlier with their first round draft pick. Um, I will say this was a little bit of a reach for me. I didn't think he'd be going to the second round, but I absolutely love the player, and that's the edge defender from Tennessee, Darrell Taylor. I love Darrell
Oh
Taylor's tape. I think he's a very underrated edge rusher,
yes,
and I thought he'd be going like third, fourth round. The Seahawks just snap him up in the second round, and while I think it's a little bit of a reach, if he's your guy, grab him. I think that was a good pick. I think it was an underrated
yeah.
pick.
I think you actually sent me some of of his tape a couple months ago for the draft, and he just scary. Um, I had him. I think I had him in one of my mocks. I had him as a late third in one of those comp pick areas.
Yeah,
But I definitely love the value for the Seahawks there because they really do need another edge rusher.
especially after
Um,
losing out on run defender Jadeveon Clowney.
oh no, and yeah, and then they also had the LJ Collier pick last
LJ
year, which
Collier,
was
yeah.
one of their many first round head scratchers.
Yeah,
One of those picks I actually completely skipped over in my notes. I feel bad. One of my favorite picks in the whole draft. I think if I had to do a top 3, he would probably be in there. Antonio Ganley Golden to the Redskins in the 4th round. I love Golden. He is scary. He is big boy. He ran a 4.6, which for his size, that's pretty good.
yeah,
A 6'4 receiver running a 4.6, you like to see that. His strength is off the charts. And what's going to be nice for him is Dwayne Haskins is going to be running for his life behind that offensive line. He's going to be a big target that, Haskins, if he needs to get the ball out quick. He can just kind of chuck it up. And I think Golden, you give him some separation. And if he can get open against those corners in the NFL, that long reach is going to be huge for the Redskins.
absolutely.
I think it was a really good value pick. I think it fits the Redskins perfectly. I think you could plug him in. Day 1 is your number 2,
Yeah,
maybe number 3.
Terry McLaurin and
Just have him
Antonio
go.
Gandy Golden for Dwayne Haskins right off the bat.
Yeah, and then we won't talk about Dwayne Haskins today. We'll save that for another episode. Let's go to the undrafted. because I
gonna
feel like
go through the rest of mine, but just say their names because I have
yeah,
a lot. Browns, Grant Delpit. Jets, Denzel Mims round two. KC round two, Willie Gay Jr. Panthers round two, Jeremy Chin. Jets round three, Ashton Davis. Broncos round three, Lloyd Cushenberry. Titans round three, running back Darrington Evans, Appalachian State. Round three, Giants offensive tackle Matthew Purr from UConn. Jets round five, cornerback Bryce Hall from Virginia. Cowboys round five, edge rusher Bradley Anae from Utah. Cardinals linebacker round six, Evan Weaver from Cal. 49ers wide receiver round seven, Juwan Jennings from Tennessee. And Chargers round seven, wide receiver KJ Hill from Ohio State.
yeah, yeah. This draft was deep. I remember seeing uh, I think it was Mayock or someone, one of those draft experts, air quotes, had like 40 players or 50 players in the first round grade. A lot of these players that you see in the day twos probably would be first round picks in other drafts.
Especially the receivers.
Receivers like Chenault, hell, I mean Jonathan Taylor
Chenault,
went in the second round.
Mims.
And by the way, if anyone out there had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as their one guy running back going in the first, you're lying.
I did not have him as my RB1. I think he's a perfect fit for KC. Don't get me wrong, perfect fit for KC. Not the first overall running back.
I don't think anyone had that, and anyone who tells me that is lying.
He was my he was my three back, behind DeAndre Swift and Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor in Indy, that's going to be
the only concern.
insane.
I love Jonathan Taylor. The only concern I have is that they ran him into the ground so much about Wisconsin. I'm going to be worried about his durability in the NFL.
Yeah,
because he had so many carries at Wisconsin.
And I hate holding this against players, but it's an argument that a lot of people use, so it's worth mentioning. That offensive line at Wisconsin was neat.
I mean, the Colts also have a really good offensive line, so it won't be
true.
That big.
And the Colts also have a 1,000-yard rusher
in
Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be interesting to see how Taylor. Maybe they're planning on using Taylor as in more of a running back by committee approach. Running back by committee, kind of like what the Niners did last year, where they had three starting caliber running backs out there.
Yeah.
And I love that pick. And I think one more pick we need to shed some light on, because the pick just made no sense. And I'll go.
Oh, made no sense.
New England's 2 through 7. We're just gonna highlight that whole draft later, but just know.
You can talk more about New England when we get to that.
We're gonna have a rant corner.
I'll just stay quiet for that.
Just go get a snack, bro, because that's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, we're already 40 minutes in, so.
Oh, great! We're not even done with the draft. Oh, I hope y'all ready for a long episode. Let's kind of breeze through the undrafted.
Yeah. Quick. You want to go first?
I'll go first. Why not? You've gone first all these times. Trey Adams and going to Buffalo. Amazing pick. I loved it. I think he should have been drafted in like 4th, 5th. I feel like that's where his talent was. I know he's got a lot of injury concerns. Who doesn't anymore? Yeah, he's a big boy. You're gonna move him to right tackle, kind of like a Trent Brown would be my pro comp. Okay. Really, really big boy. Thaddeus Moss. Who doesn't love Thaddeus Moss? I know that's common. Probably makes me a normie. I don't care. I love Thaddeus Moss. He doesn't run block at all. But he's going to be on that Redskins team. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's a 40
catches this year.
Starter by the end of the season.
I think he'll be able to get a solid 30 catches this season. I think Haskins, he's a guy that likes to check down a lot. Again, Haskins, not the episode for Haskins. Moss is clutch, just like his dad. Not as good as his dad, but he's clutch. And I think that's what Washington needs. They need someone to go to in
the chain mover. They need a chain mover.
And those 3rd down and 4s. Last guy I really loved, and this guy I actually just kind of found out recently, Jawan Johnson out of Oregon. How many people know about this guy? I think that's criminal. He went to the New Orleans Saints. He is 6'4", 230, kind of like an Andy Golden type guy.
You just love
those receivers. I do, because who doesn't love the big boys?
True. Very true. I am
They're
guilty
so
of putting
fun.
Juwan
They're
Jennings in my favorite picks.
they're so fun. I love Juwan Johnson. His tape is really fun. There's not much of it, sadly, but New Orleans has been looking for a number two for Michael Thomas ever since he's came into the league. They kind of signed one this offseason in Emmanuel Sanders. How long is he really going to be able to be the number two? Probably not more than a year. I
Yeah.
think Juwan Johnson. Do I think he's going to be the number two in any time soon? No. I think he'll be on the team for a while though. I think he'll be
He'd be a
on the
very
practice
good
squad this year.
backup for Michael Thomas.
He would be. He doesn't really
Very
have the
good
much
depth
route running
receiver.
ability, but I think he could scratch his way up the depth chart by the end of next season.
Oh yeah.
I would keep that on the name
I could
squad.
see him being like a Tim Patrick sort of player for like what the Broncos have with Tim Patrick.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be a good fit for Breeze, especially if Breeze does end up playing one more year.
Yeah. All right. Are you there? Hello? Well, that ain't good. Uh, he just cut out. Let me try recalling him. Hello? Uh-oh. This ain't good. Alright, so I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'm gonna go into my undrafted players while we wait on him to get his thing fixed, just so there's not like a big empty section. Um,
There we
fuck.
go.
Okay, you're
A
back.
little bit of technical difficulties. I don't know
Okay,
what happened there.
okay.
Sorry about that. Edit that out. You were on your undrafted free agents, I think.
Okay. I didn't know if you were done or not, so I was just about to go into mine because I didn't know if you were gonna fix it anytime soon or not. Okay,
I didn't even know what was going on.
so my first undrafted free agent that I liked, Asang Basie, the corner from Wake Forest for the Broncos. I really
Mm-hmm.
like the pickup. I think he'd easily stick to that roster, stick to the Broncos roster. I have him as my undrafted player that makes the Broncos roster and probably gets a significant amount of snaps this year.
Yeah,
I
he
think
does
he'll
have a
he'll
lot of
be someone
ownership
that
around,
we'll be
turnaround.
talking about down the line for Broncos fans at least, if not national media. But I doubt that for the first couple of years if he
Mm-hmm.
pans out like he should. Second player, Charlie Temopeo, the tight end from Portland State. He's a D2 player,
Mm-hmm.
but he's good. He went to the Cowboys. Um, I think that's a great, honestly, pretty good place for him to go. They don't really have an established tight end one there. They have Blake Jarwin. That's pretty much the only Cowboys tight end I know. So them bringing
I don't
in a
even.
good player like
They
Charlie
they
Temopeo.
they gave up on the what was that basketball player they tried to turn into a tight end.
Oh, I
They've been
don't
doing that for
remember.
like 4 years. I think they finally gave up on the poor guy. But yeah, I think yeah, I don't even think Jarwin's gonna be the number one tight end there for very long.
No. So I
Um,
think Temopeo is a very good signing for the Cowboys.
yeah.
My third, another tight end, because I like the player and I had him rated pretty highly. Not so much where he went. Hunter Bryant, the tight end out of Washington, going to the
Mm-hmm.
Detroit Lions. Don't really like the destination. Love the player though, so that's why he's on
Yeah.
this list. And here's someone.
Yeah, definitely confusing.
Here's someone
But
I didn't think it was actually undrafted. Just thought I didn't remember him actually being drafted, and that's safety out of Georgia, J.R. Reed. I had him as like an
mm-hmm.
early mid day 3 pick, and he went undrafted, and he signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are kind of lacking at safety, and their safeties are pretty old. I think that's a great signing for the Jaguars. I think he could be a starter pretty early on.
Yeah,
And my
maybe year
last
two.
undrafted free agent, it's another Georgia boy, but you got to respect the specs. Rodrigo Blankenship, kicker going to the Colts to replace Adam Vinatieri.
Has Adam Vinatieri even signed back with the Colts, or is he still unsigned?
I have no clue.
I haven't. I think if I believe correctly, he hasn't even signed with anybody yet.
I don't think he has either.
Which is a pretty sad way to go out because Vinatieri had a rough 2019. But yeah, Blankenship. As someone who's seen a lot of SEC football, and I mean,
You gotta respect the specs.
a lot. He was a killer for a lot of for almost every Georgia team he was on. We're almost done with the draft, I promise. You want to go over the quarterbacks real quick, and then we can kind of jump into more of a free agency overview.
Okay.
What is there to say about Burrow that hasn't been said? Best QB prospect since Luck. I mean, I think that's really all you need to say.
And I wanted to address people's issues with Burrow. That's what I wanted to do with Burrow because you can really say all the great things about Burrow that you want that he's shown on tape. A lot of people say it was only 1 year, and that is true. It was only 1 year, but you look at the year before that when he was at LSU, pretty much the same team around him for the most part, and he didn't play as well. Now, why could that be? During the offseason, he worked his absolute ass off to get as good as he played during the 2019 season, to lead them to that undefeated record, to lead them to that many wins over great ranked teams, and to win the Natty against Clemson.
Yeah, and
he really showed that work ethic. I think the 1 year of great film is an argument for him, not against him.
Yeah, and another thing about Burrow that I think stands out to me is he's a leader. You see a lot of these quarterbacks that when they go into the NFL, they have the talent, but they don't really have that leadership ability. And that's something that you can't really teach. Either you're a leader or you're not. And I think Burrow showed in that 1 year that he is the leader that an NFL team needs, especially one that's rebuilding. And you put him in Cincinnati, you let him work, you let him develop. I think he's going to be probably one of the top 5 QBs in the league at his peak. Oh, yeah. And I think he'll reach his peak a lot quicker than some people think. I'm going to let you start off with this next quarterback because I love listening to you talk about Tua. Let's go Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa, number 5 overall to the Miami Dolphins. My third quarterback in this draft class. That's very controversial, especially who's my second one. But we're talking about Tua right now. Injury concerns, of course. One of my biggest issues with Tua is his lack of durability. Another issue with Tua, he is a lefty. As much as that sounds weird to be a negative, it is because of how offenses actually draw up their plays. They're more inclined for right-handed quarterbacks, and you will have to switch the field to you for most of those plays. And also the right tackle will now become your blindside blocker instead of the left tackle.
Look at you reading my mind like that. Look at that. Exactly. Everyone's got to adjust to it. And from what I've heard also, I used to watch a lot of documentaries, and a lot of things that people said when the 49ers going back, when they were going from Montana to Steve Young, the receivers said they hated catching from Steve Young in the same practice because the way the ball spins, when you throw a ball with a right-handed guy, it spins clockwise. The ball goes clockwise. When you throw it with a left-handed guy, it goes counterclockwise. And guys say it's hard to get your hands on the ball that way. So it's something that your whole team has to pretty much be readjusted.
Yeah.
And it's possible. I mean, I think it's been done before. But as you said, it's the most petty thing to be against. But a lot of NFL teams, and I'm surprised the Dolphins really went with it, but hey, if you're rebuilding, what's teaching your guys to do one more thing?
Yeah.
So I think that's why they felt comfortable taking Tua. Let's go into the next one. This is one of your favorite.
Two more things about Tua. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Tua. If he proves me wrong, I want all these players to prove me wrong, actually.
Mm-hmm.
because the more better players we have in the league, the better. Um,
Oh, obviously.
he has a great deep ball. I love Tua's deep ball. The thing
Mm-hmm.
about it is he holds on the ball for too long. It seems he's always trying to make a play that isn't there instead of just taking a check down or throwing the ball away. Um, and this is gonna kind of seem controversial here because of the way Tua came onto the national landscape in the national championship against Georgia. Um, the bright lights seem a bit too bright for Tua Tagovailoa. We
Mm-hmm.
put away the true freshman coming on against Georgia at halftime for the national championship. All of his other big games where he's playing these fantastic teams, even against Georgia last year in the SEC championship game where Georgia wasn't all that great. The year before that, Georgia in the SEC championship, he had to be benched for Jalen Hurts. He was injured, fair enough, but he was also playing very terribly that game. And then you saw him against Clemson in their national championship when Trevor Lawrence was a true freshman. Tua did not look up to the task at all. The bright lights seemed a bit too bright for Tua.
Yeah. But one good thing about that, I must say, is that he's in Miami, and thankfully they won't be seeing any bright lights for a while. I can say that because I'm a Patriots fan. I can get away with that joke. But yeah, I definitely see that point. But I think like going back to that point they said, I hope that I'm wrong about all these players that I dog on, because like you said, I care more about seeing really good football and seeing the best players compete
Than me
than
being
I
right.
care about being
Yeah.
right. I would rather be wrong. So I definitely agree with that. Anything else you want to say about Tua?
Nope, that's it. That's all I got for Tua.
I'm gonna lead Herbert off.
All right, you could lead
I
Herbert
know he
off
was.
because I think we're in the
I
same
don't hate
place
the
for
Herbert.
Herbert.
I I I don't think I disliked the pick as much as you do. You put him on one of your worst picks. I didn't,
That's true.
just because I think the team fit works. I think he's gonna go into LA. I don't think he's gonna start week one. I think Tyrod's gonna win that job out of camp. But you look at the weapons that are gonna be around him when he does step up. He's gonna have Keenan Allen, who's really underrated on one side, and he's gonna have Mike Williams, who's really developing really fast. I think Herbert, when he does step in, week 9, week 10, I think Herbert has the raw skill to succeed. He just needs to not be afraid of the deep pass. That's his only issue. I mean, I think you're the one that brought this stat to me, so I'm going to steal
Oh,
it.
don't steal my stat.
30. I'm going to. Okay, I'm leading off Herbert. Um, no, I mean, what was it, like 35 to 40% of his passes completions were screen?
No, it was nearly a quarter of his completions were off screen passes.
That's that's scary. That's worrisome,
I think it was
especially
like 23% or something like that.
in one of not a very good football conference. That's worrying. But I think, like you say, he's not gonna be an immediate impact player year one, probably not year two. But I think he has the skill set. It's just it's gonna take him a while.
He definitely has a skill set. I won't disagree with you at all there. The skills are obviously out there for everyone to see. My problem with Justin Herbert is I haven't seen any leadership, really, any abilities. He seems like a very quiet, conservative, he's not a loudmouth leader. He's like a guy he's gonna lead by example. I guess is the best way to put
Yeah.
it. Uh, he's not a great leader from what I've seen. Also, this is my main thing with Justin Herbert. 4 years of starting at Oregon, he never improved at really anything. He's been the same player from his freshman year to his senior year. He has great arm. He's tall. He's mobile. He never improved. Still has poor decision making. He still has absolutely no touch when he throws the ball. Every throw he makes is a straight line bullet, and that impacts his accuracy so much. If he knew how to throw with touch and anticipation, Justin Herbert would be a very. I'd like Justin Herbert a lot as a prospect.
Yeah. Ooh, I see who's left on the quarterback board for us to talk about, and
Ooh,
I
it's my
know,
Stan.
I know someone's about to. I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna get some snacks real quick.
All right,
Um,
who's ready to hear about Jordan Love? I am a Jordan Love stan. Let's do this. All right, I'm gonna address the issues first. Senior year is terrible. I know that. Great junior year, senior year is terrible. Listen, I know that. His play did decline from a tape standpoint and a statistics standpoint, but the tape showed he didn't decline as much. Here's why he declined. Okay? Lost 9 offensive starters. He also lost some depth players. I didn't really count the depth players all too much. He lost 9 offensive starters after his junior season, which was his best season, in which he threw for 64% of his passes were completed, almost 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He was only sacked 9 times that entire season. He had 41 rushing attempts with 7 rushing touchdowns. So, who did he lose after his junior season? Their starting running back, their lead rusher. They lost all 3 starting receivers. So that's 4 players. They lost their tight end 1 and their entire offensive line except for the left tackle. That was the only piece on the offensive line they didn't lose, and pretty much the only offensive starter besides Jordan Love himself that they didn't lose. And what happened when he lost 9 offensive starters? He went down to 62% completion percentage, 3,400 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, interceptions jumped up to 17, and was sacked 29 times compared to the only 9 times during his junior season, with 81 rushes, so more rushes and 0 rushing touchdowns. He was playing absolute hero ball. He was trying to make everything do himself, which is a concern. I do not like seeing players play hero ball, but he was the soul of that Utah State offense, of that Utah State team. He was their team. He carried them, and his play definitely declined on tape and on statistics, but more so on statistics than on tape. He has a fantastic arm. His off-platform throws are phenomenal. Some of the angles he can put his arm at and still make the play is great. He has good touch, not fantastic, not fantastic anticipation. It's all right. He has good mobility. He has a he has a phenomenal deep ball. I love his deep ball. It's very pretty. And his decision making is okay. Jordan Love is my second quarterback in this draft, purely off upside and his junior season's tape. And when you lose 9 of your offensive starters, especially pretty much your whole offensive line and receiving core, it's kind of hard to have the same success that you did the last year. That's my Jordan Love stan rant.
And I think the only thing I'm going to add to it, because I really don't think I need to add much. The only thing I want to add is that he's not even going to play for a year or 2. He's going to be able to sit down behind, it's my opinions on Aaron Rodgers. He's going to sit behind one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm going to say that very nicely. And he's going to sit behind him, and he's going to learn. He's going to see how the offense runs. And I think, honestly, as much as Green Bay kind of messed the draft up, and their overall draft grade's not good, he was a very good pick.
Yes.
And I think Green Bay fans will be very happy, just like when they weren't the happiest when they picked Aaron Rodgers, when they had Brett Favre. I think you're going to see Jordan Love just skyrocket once Rodgers does leave.
Absolutely agree. As long as they provide weapons for Jordan Love that they haven't done for Aaron Rodgers early on in draft.
Now, what's our time looking?
We are currently at 59 minutes.
Well, we're over schedule.
Want to do a quick overview? Or do you want to do a quick overview of our team's off season? Or do you want to go directly to free agency, or just go directly to the breakout players and be done? I'd say we should only do one of them.
I think let's do the team's off seasons.
Okay.
And then I think we save free agency and the breakout players for another episode.
All right, sounds good.
So I think let's go over each of our personal teams' favorite moves.
I'll
And
let
then
you take your rant because I just had my rant. So I will give the
oh
floor over
boy,
to you for your rant since I just had my
and
Jordan Love Stan rant.
before I get to my rant, after we talk about our team's offseason, we have one little announcement to make after that, and then we'll leave you guys off. Thank you guys. If you guys are coming and staying in this long, y'all are kind of crazy. First of all, listening to an hour-long rant from two idiots. But let's give you one more little piece.
Two idiots
Talk.
with a fantastic podcast name and logo. Let's be honest here.
That's that's why we're here. Let's talk about New England's offseason. Okay. I'm gonna save the grade for last, but you'll probably be able to guess the grade after I finish talking about it. So first of all, we let Brady walk. I knew it was coming. The signs were there. He just didn't seem, especially if you watched the game style near the end of the season, he didn't look like he wanted to be there. He looked like he was just burnt out, and I don't blame him. He was playing with some very bad receivers. So we let him walk, and we had to eat $13 million in dead money right off the bat. So that's pretty tough. We traded Gronk for a fourth-round pick. Hey, I think that's one of the best things we did this whole offseason, was getting a fourth-round pick for a player that was never going to play for us. Very sorry. Brendan, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Still working. Okay,
I'm
cool.
letting you rant.
Because I know my mic's been.
I'll
We
let you
lost
know
out
if your mic cuts
on.
out.
Yeah, we lost out on the following players already. For this is a lot. Jamie Collins, Detroit, gone. Kyle Van Noy, gone to the Dolphins. Emmanuel Roberts, gone. Dolphins. Philip Dorsett, gone. Seahawks. Danny Shelton, gone. All of these big time pieces that came over, gone. Kyle Van Noy got paid. That's great to see. We did re-sign Devin McCourty, got him back on a nice team-friendly deal. He's going to be playing probably for the rest of his career in New England. I love that. We did trade away Deron Harmon. I didn't like the value we got. I feel like Harmon was a stud. We traded Harmon and we replaced him with Kyle Duggar. Let's go to the draft. Kyle Duggar. You guys heard my rant earlier, so I'm not going to go too in depth. I just don't think that was the pick. We had Ossie in the third. I love that pick. Then we're going to go to some of the others. Josh Uche out of Michigan. He's really raw. Doesn't really jump out and pass rush. Not the best run stuffer. He's just going to kind of be one of those guys. He's Winovich, but way worse. Anfree Jennings. I'm going to coin a new term here. I don't think this term's ever used. He's going to be a one-down linebacker. He's going to be able to go out there on first down and stop the run. He can't cover. Can't pass rush. He's just a tackle guy. And there's nothing wrong with those type of guys. But it's just, for a third-round pick, it's not worth it. Dalton Keene, glorified fullback. I hate Dalton Keene. I hope you go out there and become the next Gronk. Please do. I could use it. Not going to happen. Devin Asiasi, y'all heard it earlier. And then some of the later round guys. We had a couple nice offensive linemen later in the draft that'll probably be on the practice squad. Dalton Keene. And one of the last picks that we had was Justin Moss Ross, or whatever. It's going to replace Goskowski, Nick Folk. I think that'll be a solid. Overall, we acquired nobody. We acquired Demary Bird, who's going to be maybe a fifth receiver. I doubt it. Bo Allen, who's going to replace Danny Shelton, pretty solid. Brian Hoyer, who's going to back up Stidham. And Brandon Copeland. Everyone knows Brandon Copeland. We lost almost 30% of our snaps that we're replacing. That's going to be bad. I give us an F. I think we had probably the worst single offseason we've seen in a couple years. We let franchise cornerstones walk left and right. We let guys who we signed for 1 year, $1 million deals leave for 3 year, 30. It was a bad offseason, and I can't complain. But it's definitely one that I hope Belichick proves me wrong, but like he's done so much. But yeah, overall, this offseason was a disaster.
I think you made a little mistake there. You said Brian Hoyer would be backing up Jared Stidham. I think it's going to be Jared Stidham backing up Brian Hoyer.
There's no. we have to have. Belichick.
That would be a Hoyerable decision if they did that.
I was waiting for you to do one of those, and I'm so sorry to anyone who's hearing that. All right, my rant is over.
All right, time for the upbeat happiness of the Broncos offseason. All right, so
I wish.
I graded every move. Well, the significant moves. Um, Trading for Jarrell Casey, interior defensive lineman, for a seventh round pick, A plus. Signing guard slash center, who will be playing guard for us, Graham Glasgow, A minus. Trading AJ Boye, trading a fourth for AJ Boye, and we get a new corner. That's a B. Let Chris Harris go to the Chargers, and he went for less money than what we offered him, so that was kind of weird. But yeah, there's that. We re-signed interior defensive lineman Shelby Harris to a one-year deal. I think that was a great move. I give that a B plus. We fired our offensive coordinator Rich Scangarello, and we hired in his place former Giants head coach Pat Shermer as the offensive coordinator. I give that an A.
Hmm.
And then we also hired Mike Shula as our quarterbacks coach. I think he's the son of Don Shula, legendary coach. I gave that an A as well. He's been a very good quarterback coach throughout his time in the NFL. Re-signed AAF leader in interceptions, Devontae Bosby, corner. Um, he played in his limited snaps, of which he was starting. He actually played pretty decently for our Broncos defense before he had that horrific like neck injury that he's fully recovered from. I think it was against, I want to say, the Chargers, where he ran into Alexander Johnson, our inside linebacker, and had like a stinger to his neck. Um, and then we re-signed also edge rusher Jeremiah Atauchu, who, in the wake of Bradley Chubb's ACL tear, played pretty well. Keeping him around as a depth piece is a very good move, especially for this edge rush depth that we have now with Vaughn, Chubb, Atauchu, and Malik Reed.
Is that a
Um,
Georgia Tech legend I hear? Hey. There's not many of them, but
yeah, you got
that one.
Atauchu and Calvin Johnson. That's pretty much it.
Hey, Demarius Thomas
That's true. Yeah.
was good for a few years. Yeah.
We signed interior defensive lineman Christian Covington. I gave that a C plus. It's all right. Gives us good depth along the defensive line in case something happens to Harris or Casey. Um, oh, here's the one that I did not like when it first happened, and I still don't kind of like for the price, but the player itself is kind of growing on me for what he could bring to the offense. That is running back Melvin Gordon. I'm gonna give this a B. I don't like the contract, $8 million a year for 2 years. Um, but he will be very good as a third down back. Something that Philip Lindsay hasn't really done too much has been receiving out of the backfield. That hasn't really been his forte. Even though when you see Philip Lindsay, you kind of see him as more of a scat back than a in between the tackles runner, which Lindsay likes to do. And I think it's pretty interesting. I was looking at a graphic earlier
Yeah.
showing the distinction between for running backs between yards from shotgun and yards from under center. And Philip Lindsay was better from under center than he was in shotgun, and Melvin Gordon was better in shotgun than he was under center. So
Yeah.
that'll be
Which is going to be an
interesting
interesting duo.
duo to say the least. Definitely, yes. And then moving on to the draft, Jerry Jeudy, my boy, my man, my favorite receiver, and we got him at 15 somehow. Thank you, Oakland. A plus, obviously. Before the draft, before we even had him, I had his absolute ceiling is Marvin Harrison. I know that's a lot
Oh,
to say, but that was
God.
my absolute ceiling for him coming out of the draft. Before we got drafted to the Broncos, round two, KJ Hamler didn't really understand this pick so much at the point when we took him. I gave it a B. I'll still stick with a B. He's probably not going to contribute much early in the season. Probably much more later in the season. You'll probably see Deshaun Hamilton in that starting role as wide receiver 3 or in the slot. KJ Hamler, the speed man. He is going to clear out so much space for Sutton and Judy over the top. Round three, We got a defensive back. I say defensive back because I can see him playing either corner or safety in this Vic Fangio defense, and that's Michael Ojemudia, corner from Iowa. Great zone press corner. Not so great at man, but that doesn't really. We don't really need man all too much in Fangio's scheme, which is more of a match coverage scheme, more zone though.
Yeah.
Long, lengthy corner, really good ball player and really good tackler. Um, Center, round three, Lloyd Cushenberry. I gave that an A. The center was a thing, basically the missing link on this offensive line that we had not addressed all offseason. And he slides to the third round, and we take, in my opinion, the second best interior offensive lineman in the third round. Um, Round three, this is one I didn't really care too much for. Defensive lineman McTelvin Agim out of Arkansas. I can see why they took him. I just don't really like the pick all that much. I think we could have used it on an off-ball linebacker. Would have been more valuable. Could have gotten Akeem Davis Gaither since he went in the fourth round. Okay, here's the last name, and also a very intriguing prospect. Round four, tight end out of Missouri, Albert Okwuegbunam. He's a
Round of applause for being able to pronounce that name for me, because that's probably the
I have
most
been
impressive
practicing
thing about
and
today.
listening.
That's the most impressive thing about your whole breakdown of this tight end. I don't even care what you say next. That's the most impressive to me. Uh, go ahead.
He is an absolute machine in the red zone. Drew Lock's favorite target throughout his time at Mizzou. So there's already that connection there. He ran what? It was like now we have two tight ends with 4.4 speed. I think it was. He ran like a 4.49.
Yeah,
I want to say something like
I believe
that.
so. I believe so.
Um, Blazing speed. Whenever I saw him play at Mizzou, all I saw, I didn't really see much of like spectacular. I didn't really see much of like route running or run blocking or anything like that. No, this dude makes plays. He's a spectacular catch kind of guy. He's that red zone target that you're gonna look to when people are maybe double covering Cortland Sutton in the red zone. You're gonna look to Albert Okwuegbunam.
Gotcha.
Round five, Justin Strad. He's the linebacker. I forgot what college he was from. I gave it a C plus. He's a coverage backer. Wasn't really my favorite coverage backer. Just another depth linebacker to add to the mix. I see another like Josie Jewell maybe a little bit more athletic. So nothing much to write home about. Round six, already talked about this guy. Not going to spend too much more time on him. Natane Mote, the guard out of Fresno. And I got that an A. And then wide receiver in the seventh round again, the third wide receiver in the draft. Pretty confused about that. I'm okay with the player. I kind of like Tyree Cleveland, if I'm being honest. Good height, weight, speed combo. That's pretty much it with Tyree Cleveland. I gave it a C. Didn't really need another receiver. Could have used maybe another depth safety, depth offensive lineman. They didn't address tackle at all in this class. And then round seven, last pick, edge out of North Dakota State. Derek Tuska, I gave that a C plus. He was a really athletic edge player for the I forgot what Bison, North Dakota State Bison. That's what their mascot is. He was a really productive player, really athletic, really raw, but he'll be learning under Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, Jeremiah Tauchu, and Malik Reed. I don't expect much. He'll probably be a practice squad player year one
Yeah.
at absolute best. And for
All right.
that overall, I give that an A off season.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, we don't want y'all listening here for 2 hours.
Yeah, we've gone for an hour
listen.
14. It's time
I
to close it off.
I wouldn't listen to myself for 2 hours, so I don't expect other people to. So let's one more thing I want to talk about before we plan on making this a regular thing. We need something to put on the resumes because we want a job in this field. Me and Brennan, we love the sport. We want a career in this field. So we're planning on making this a regular thing. We're going to put some effort into this. One of the things we're going to do per episode. Brennan is a college football nerd. I'm not.
Kind of.
I am more of the NFL. You're the college football nerd. You probably could tell that from the breakdowns. He's going in depth on their personal history, and I'm talking about their name, their stuff, and moving
Well, not as
on.
let's be honest, not as in depth as ESPN was during the draft. Let's come on now.
They had, last time he saw his dad was in 1982 at a 7-Eleven. He's gonna have his own little college football season going on.
His pet
And that's
hamster
gonna
died
be-
when he was 6.
That's gonna be great. Brennan's gonna be going off on the college football, and me, I am a fantasy football nerd. I playing fantasy football for like 7, 8 years. Probably not as long as some people, but I love me some fantasy football. I'm gonna do as much research as I can to help you guys win your leagues because who wants to do the loser challenge? I think almost every league has that.
Wait,
Who wants to do that?
loser challenge? What's a loser challenge?
You never had a loser challenge?
Not in any of my leagues, no. Plus, I wouldn't have already done it. I've won most of my leagues that I've been in. Somehow.
Yeah, we'll have some fantasy football news as the season gets closer. I'll have you some sleepers to watch, some guys to stay away from. Call me Matthew Berry 2.0. I'm not sponsored by Matthew Berry, so I don't. Please don't take away our podcast, Barry. But with that all being said, Brandon, I don't know if you have anything else you wanted to say.
No, that's it.
Hey, thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to listen to a couple idiots talking football.
And especially,
we'll be back.
round of applause and pat on the back to you if you listened through the entire hour and 16 minutes we've been going for. Woo! You're a goat.
Yeah.
You're a goat.
This
I
could
don't
have
know
been
how you do
longer. Trust me. We're cutting the script out. Trust me. Hey, thank you again, guys, for listening. We'll talk to you next time on Belichick's Bitches Podcast.
Thanks.
See ya.
See y'all.